13 through 16 cover topics that we talked about if you want to look back at the 3.3 notes or 3.3 homework. I'm going to do 14 and 16 here, so an addition and a subtraction. So just like you learned in elementary school, in order to add or subtract fractions, you have to have the same denominator. So this one has a plus 6, this one has 6a squared. So even though you see the 6 here, it doesn't have the same job as the 6 that's multiplying by the a squared. So that doesn't count. So what we're going to have to do is basically multiply these by each other. Oops, I don't know what I'm writing. So multiply them by each other, and what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. But if they did have similar pieces, and again, this is not similar because on the left it's held together by addition, and on the right it's held together by multiplication. But if you did have similar pieces, then you would just be able to multiply or just add or multiply by more a's or variables or whatever you need to do. And we did some examples in class, if you remember. All right, so our new denominator is 6a squared times a plus 6. Okay, and then on the left, we're going to have 6 times 3 is 18, a cubed. And then on the right, we're going to need to distribute that 5a, so positive 5a. So I'll have plus 5a squared, and then 5a times 6 is going to give us 30a. All right, and then you want to see, so we're done adding, but we want to see if we can simplify this. So 18, 5, and 30 don't really have anything in common because the 5 is prime. But they do all have an a, so I'm going to pull out an a, and then I'll be left with 18a squared plus 5a plus 30. And then what I'll be able to do, I'm going to, instead of writing 6a squared, I'm going to write 6a times a plus 6. And I'll be able to cancel out one of the a's. So then I'll have 18a squared plus 5a plus 30 all over 6a times a plus 6. And you're going to check and see if you can factor it, but this one you cannot factor. So you're done except for finding the excluded values. So remember, we want to go back to the very beginning to find our excluded values. So you cannot divide by 0. So if you look right here, if a plus 6 cannot be 0, we can do it algebraically and know that a cannot be negative 6. And then here, 6a squared cannot be 0 divided by 6. So you have a squared cannot be 0 divided by 6 is 0. Take the square root of both sides. A cannot be 0. All right, so that's an addition one. And let's do a subtraction one. So because the 5 is held together by addition here, we can't just say that, oh, we have a 5 here, let's do plus 3n, because adding to the denominator and to the numerator won't be equivalent because we're dividing, and so adding and division have different properties, so we can't just add 3n. So just a reminder, we're going to have to just multiply these by each other. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by 5. What you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. And I'm going to multiply this side by 3n plus 5. Okay, so then on the left side, I'm going to distribute 6n into 3n, and I'll get 18n squared again. And then 6n times 5 will give us 30n. And now this is a little weird. We have a negative 5. Don't forget that subtract is going to be part of this 5 that we're multiplying here. So we're going to have to distribute a negative 5 in. So negative 5n, and then negative 5, that'll be negative 30. All right, so in the numerator, we're going to have 18n squared plus 25n. We have like terms there, minus 30 divided by 5 times 3n plus 5. And then I'll see if I can factor the top and see if it simplifies. But yeah, this one does not. So we're done except for our excluded values. So 5 cannot become 0. 5 is 5. but 3n plus 5 could become 0 with a certain value in for n. So we're going to make sure that 3n plus 5 does not become 0. So n cannot be negative 5/3. So here we go, our excluded value and our simplified version, and we're done.